People who have been in a coma, what was it like from your perspective? Did you know you were in a coma? I remember what put me in a coma. Then I remember being unconscious but hearing my parents' hallucinations. And then nothing for 5 weeks. My next memory is at home and my doctor visiting me. What were the hallucinations like? Literally big crayons falling from the sky lol. Crayola man. A few years ago my dad was in a medically induced coma for about 2 weeks. Everyone thought he was completely unconscious the whole time until he woke up and started mentioning conversations people had around him while he was under. This even surprised the doctors. He said that from his perspective it was like he was asleep most of the time, but he would occasionally wake up and could hear what was going on around him without being able to move or do anything before he would eventually drift back to sleep. Imagine being like that and hearing the nurse say, "Well, we tried our best but you ain't gonna have to pull the plug." My friend was in a coma for about 2 weeks, and one of his few memories from his brief moments of lucidity was his divorced parents arguing and his mother insisting that they pull the plug. They have a complicated relationship. He's doing great now, by the way. A friend of mine was in a 6-month coma after an accident. Afterwards he made sure to tell everyone around him to talk to people in a coma because they can hear you. But he noted that they should always tell the person in a coma what happened, where they are and what's happening to them, because he said that his moments of lucidity were mixed with some truly horrifying dreams and he had trouble distinguishing between what was real and what were dreams. He said he just wanted to be told what was real and what was happening. Mine was only 2 days, but for me it was just like being asleep. When I woke up I had no idea I was in a coma. I was in a medically induced for 2 weeks and I had no perception of time. I was in an accident, put into the coma by doctors, then awoke on a later date. The drugs gave me crazy dreams for the next month in the hospital, but I have no memory of anything during the time I was in the coma. I was put in an induced coma when I was 9 years old after a pretty bad car accident which left me with a fractured skull. All I remember is a bad dream about having a bad headache, and hearing my older sister telling everyone, including my parents, to get the out of her way because she wanted to see me. I found out later that this was on the night it happened, and they were trying to calm her down before she saw me. After being in a really bad accident that left one of my good friends, the driver, brain dead, they put me into a chemically induced coma for under a week to prevent brain damage due to swelling. When I first woke up, my memory was much better than it was as it gradually faded in the days to come. I have a journal my mother recorded things in, and I recalled many things I shouldn't have been able to immediately after waking up. Today, I have very little memory of it all, but I can definitely say that having positive people around you definitely helps when you're in a situation like that. If you have a friend in this situation, don't disregard them. Even though your life has moved on, they may wake up one day, and in their mind, not a day has passed since the last conversation they had with you. I'm not sure where I read it, but a girl talked about her experience and she mentioned that it was like going in and out of sleeping, dreaming. Just when she would feel like she was waking up, she could hear parts of conversations or the TV, but she would slip right back to sleeping. She also said when people would clean her she could feel them touch sensitive parts of her like her armpit and butthole area. I'm an inpatient phlebotomist, and even though some of my patients are sedated I still always introduce myself and say I'm here to draw some blood, just in case they could hear me. I like that you introduce yourself to sedated patients. That's not a bad idea. It's never a bad thing to have a steady routine when in hospitals. I felt like it helped me not make mistakes. I also like that your wholesome comment included a butthole area. I was in a coma for 3 days after an emergency C-section, thanks eclampsia. They actually lost me for a couple of minutes after they delivered my twin boys. I remember hearing the sound of my dad crying close by. I could hear people talking around me, but any time I would try to focus on what I thought I was seeing, it was like looking in a kaleidoscope. I was in a coma for 3 days following a serious cycling accident, medically induced. I woke up with zero recollection of why I was there or what was said while I was out. It is easily the scariest situation I've found myself in, but I can't say I remember it. I woke up to my mom and dad in the hospital with me and my body in traction of some sort, and that was way scarier to me. My mom was in a coma and she recently told me it was horrible. She was in a wreck that killed her technically 5+ times, heart stopped, and she said she could feel all the pain. Hear the doctors yelling that she was being coded. She said she thought to herself, wow, whoever that, it must be dying, and then realizing it was her. She was trying to scream and tell them she was alive, but nothing ever came out. I had a seizure and was in a medically induced coma for 3 days when I was 17. To be honest, I don't remember anything. I remember fading in and out of the anesthesia, trying to pull my breathing tube out, and that my hands were restrained to the bed so I couldn't. When I woke up and was coherent, I couldn't recall anything from actually being in the coma. They had even moved me to a hospital over 100 miles away. It was really just nothing but black. No dreams, no lights, no voices. Just nothing.